Half a day, I'm Luella Lucino from the Pacific News Center, and you're watching Coffee with the Candidates. I'm here with former Senator Chris Duenas, who's going to talk to us about his running for the primary elections this year. And how are you? How are you, sir? How's the day?
I'm doing well, Luella. Thank you and Sorensen and the PNC family for this opportunity.
And I know this is probably one of the most, I guess, used questions in campaign history. But why are you running for
I'm running for office basically, Luella. I have 16 years of experience in the private sector. I also have 16 years of public service as a director of Department of Youth Affairs, director of land management. I served 2 terms in the 31st, the 32nd Guam legislature. I also was a senior advisor to Governor Calvo, and I finished my public service as the Guam Housing Corporation president. I'm running for senator again because I'm concerned. After the 2018 election, I was very excited. We had a new governor, we had a new legislature seated, and I was looking forward to great things. And as time went by, I noticed that I saw a lack of focus. And I also saw a lack of balance when it came to checks and balances between the legislature and the executive branch. And so I decided that I will run for senator again because I want to provide more checks and balances and also more focus on the priorities for the people of Guam: education, public safety, healthcare. You know, Luella, when we look at our hospital, we've basically done nothing in the last year and a half, going on 2 years. Now, I know we're in a COVID situation, and I pray for all of our island and our families every day. But we started COVID in March. We had a year, basically 14 months of a brand new group of folks to bring our island forward and make our island better. I didn't see much movement, like I said, on the priorities. So going back to the hospital, you know, there's so many projects to be done, and there's been nothing done with our hospital, and I find that very concerning. I haven't heard one mention of Simon Sanchez, I think, in the last year. When it comes to our education, our schools that need repair, and a brand new Simon Sanchez that we've been trying to build for probably 8 years now. Public safety, Luella, when we're on the streets, we had promises of officers, more police officers, more vehicles, and that's just not happening. With our crime rate soaring, with our drug epidemic, you just don't see that. And so, Luella, once again, I see a lack of focus, and I think I can bring focus back to the legislature.
those are great answers. And you briefly mentioned about us being in a fiscal crisis right now because of the COVID situation, right? So how would you have handled any ideas? Um, how would you have handled the situation, like any fiscal strategy or economic strategy that you're thinking of to bring us out of the situation that we're in?
Well, I find it interesting. They're preparing to discuss and finish the budget for fiscal year 20, going into 2021. This month right now, and the last two consecutive fiscal years seem to have ended in, or at least tracking now towards a surplus, and the last budget cycle showing a surplus. To me, Luella, that means that we have been taking too much money out of the private sector. And so when we talk about a fiscal crisis, I think it's about money management. It's about priorities. And so the fact of the matter is they're saying now that there is a debate between the legislature now and the governor's office on whether it would be 55 or maybe 60, $65 million reduction in this year's budget. So that basically means that they've been able to handle all of the government responsibilities without maybe the 1% tax increase. And so our businesses right now are the ones that are suffering. Our private sector is the one that's suffering. We've taken too much money away. We're not promoting getting back to work. We're not helping our businesses. We listen to the Chamber of Commerce speak that they're being crushed by the 1% increase in taxes. And that also that the situation now with the continued shutdowns, the inability for people to go back to work and businesses to function. We have to work hand in hand with the private sector, Luella. This is another area where I see no balance. We see a very one-sided point of view. Now, I understand we've got to keep our people safe, and I want to applaud the governor and her success to make sure that we contain this virus as much as possible. But the Chamber of Commerce has been knocking on the door. They've been asking, let's have more roundtables. Let's sit down and talk more about how we manage this crisis, get our businesses back on track, and attract new business to Guam. You know, we're talking about economic diversification, Luella. We have opportunities in technology. We have opportunities in medicine. We have a lot of opportunity being here in the middle of Asia, and of course, with our relationship with the United States of America. But it's hard to attract foreign investment when we show that we're not stable, when we show that we're not working together and the government is not in concert with its private sector. So I really think that the key to economic recovery is a very balanced approach where the government contains its spending and the private sector is able to thrive, and we cannot have high taxes, otherwise businesses cannot thrive.
So how do you translate that in terms of legislation? If elected, how do you see yourself introducing these types of bills?
So Luella, yeah, sometimes I think that we get into this notion that everything is about introducing legislation and passing bills. I think we need to remove some legislation, remove some regulation and things that have stacked up over the time. You know, Luella, I plan, if elected, to really concentrate on the budget and government spending so that we can really truly help our employees have the tools that they need to do their job in the government, but take away some of those things that are not particularly necessary in our government right now. And so reorganization is one thing that I would like to bring to the table, and it's already law. It's just a matter of implementing the law. You know, I've heard this myth before that every time a candidate talks about controlling the budget and proper taxation, that how are they going to lay off all these employees and furlough all these employees? You know, Luella, in the last 2 decades, we've had over 4 major catastrophes that have brought our government's economy to its knees. Not one government employee has been furloughed. Not one government employee has been fired. And the reason why is because the government always has somewhere between 15 and 20% leeway when it's working with its budgets. In fact, most fiscal managers within the government withhold a lot of the money and the releases to government agencies so that they can deal with emergencies. So I think what's important is really the budget is the most important thing that the legislature does. We need to be true about our projections. We need to collect the money that's outstanding to the government of Guam. And we need to make sure that we are a business-friendly environment where we invite business. I think the legislature's role is more about oversight and good, proper budgeting than it is being what some people can call a bill mill, where you're just churning out bills because you want to look like you're an important senator and you're doing something. But the truth is, the major function of the legislature is to pass laws, is to pass a sound budget that will be in accordance with keeping basic services going, but not hurting the private sector, and basically to confirm appointments. And so one of the things I also will be looking towards, Luella, is I think we should now move towards part-time senators. Not a part-time legislature, but part-time senators. Because I think we need to attract people to come to work in the legislature that are there, that can lead by example. And the way they lead by example is they don't take a large salary. Much like the CCU, they could take a stipend and basically do the job, but let the full-time work at the legislature be done by classified career employees, and let senators come in just to do the very keen business of operating our island. And I think that that's also one way that when you go into the legislature, if you want to ask the government of Guam, live within your budget, live within your means, you got to show that you mean it by starting with yourself.
Okay. If elected, if you were to chair a committee, which one would it be and why?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
I mean, if you're elected and you were to chair a committee at the legislature, which one would it be and why?
I would like to chair the Office of Finance and Budget. I think that, Ways and Means is normally what they call it. I know, I have a lot of relationships with individuals in government that really understand government spending. And I think the Office of Finance and Budget is the most important function of the legislature. It is the check and balance to the administration. You have to have strong people in the Office of Finance and Budget that you don't have to, you don't have to worry that will they understand the paperwork being sent down from the administration when they say, I want this budget. You have to hire people in Office and Finance and Budget that know the government from top to bottom, and you can't hide anything from them. I think if you put very strong fiscal people in the Office of Finance and Budget, you will see a legislature that really can provide that when the administration says, this is the budget we want, and the legislature says, this is the budget that we're going to pass for you. You need to live within these means. And the only way you can do that, Luella, is you have to have a very strong Office of Finance and Budget. So if elected and we have the majority, I would like to be the chair of Office of Finance and Budget.
Okay, so just to wrap up, um, can you what do you call it, describe your priorities in three words?
I think my priorities in 3 words really is basically my campaign slogan: focused, balanced, and be ready for anything. You know, you need to focus when you're in the legislature. There's a lot of nice things to have. There's a lot of nice bills to introduce that will make people feel good. But the focus of government has to be on government operations. I think when we talk about balance has to be that business and government work together in unison to provide for our people. There cannot be 2 Guams. There needs to be 1 Guam. Not those who don't think about tomorrow and those who don't know if they're going to get through today. And I think ready. You need to be ready for anything. When you walk into the legislature, if elected, and the day of inauguration, you got to be ready to serve. So I think those are my 3 priorities, just like my slogan says.
Thank you, Chris. And that's it for us. Thank you for watching Coffee with the Candidates. Stay tuned for more interviews.